about an interesting topic starring Ryan, Zandit, Zundus, and Madi. Okay, today we'll talk about one of the most serious discussion lately. This news has spread to many people through social media and have been a hot debate for the past few weeks. There are so many pros and cons in this motion. Today we're discussing a controversial motion called unemployment among college students due to a lack of jobs resulting in major removal. Let's start with Raya here. Raya, many graduates today seem anxious about their future after college. Some even feel their degree is no longer useful. So in your opinion, why has unemployment among graduates become such a serious issue today?
Okay, first, look what is happening today, guys. We can clearly see this happening around us that many graduates struggle to find jobs related to their field of study. Even some remain unemployed for a long time after they graduate. Even after our vice president said or promised that there will be like 90 million job of application, right?
Well, maybe the jobs he made are hiding from us at this point.
Yeah, maybe we don't know, okay? So it's that others are forced to work in completely different fields, which is so that their academic background doesn't match with the need of industry, right? I think this is not necessarily because the lack of skills, but because the system itself produces more graduates rather than the market itself.
That's actually true. If we look deeply about our system nowadays, we often see graduates competing for very limited job opportunities. But in your opinion, is the problem only about the lack of jobs?
If you look at the current situation right now, it is not always because they're not capable or the lack of job, but also the imbalance between the number of graduates and the need of the job market. So every year, universities produce a large number of graduates from various majors, right? But not all that majors are actually needed in the workforce, right? As a result, many graduates end up competing in the office-settled field, where the number of job seekers is much higher rather than the number of available positions. Meanwhile, there are other sectors like technology and certain industry that actually need more skilled workers.
So basically, there's a mismatch between universities and industry needs. Then what do you think about the government decision to make major removal?
First of all, hear me out, guys. But I believe that government's policy to reduce or even remove certain measure is actually a smart move. And it might sound harsh at first, and many people might get mad of it. But if you think about it, it's more like fixing the system rather than limiting the students, right? I mean, limiting like how many students, right? It's about the fixing the system.
So Raya, some people might say that removing majors sounds too extreme and even unfair for students. But from your perspective, why do you think this policy could actually be beneficial instead of harmful?
I think that instead of letting this mismatch continue until when we don't know, the government is trying to step in and create a better balance. You know what I mean? By evaluating which measures are no longer necessary to industry or already overloaded, like education measures, maybe, I don't know, they can redirect focus toward fields that offer more realistic career opportunities. In the long run, this policy can actually help students because instead of graduating with uncertainty, they will have a clearer career path.
Well, it's definitely going to be an interesting talk show, guys. Alright, that was a very strong argument from the pro side. Raya believes that this policy could help create a better balance between education and the job market. But of course, not everyone agrees with this idea. So now, what do you think about that, Zanin? Do you agree with her?
Not really, honest, because we believe that this issue is far beyond the time itself. Because unlike Raya's argument that we believe that student education should not only focus on preparing students to enter the industries, but education is to build moral values and also critical thinking. And if we remove specialized majors just to match industrial needs, then don't we just integrate education into a factory that produces workers?
That's actually a very deep perspective. However, many people nowadays argue that some specialized majors are outdated and no longer relevant to modern economic needs. So how would you respond to people who think those majors no longer have practical value?
I would say that the relevance is not only measured only by economic productivity, because such measures such as history or literature or etc. they do not create inside workers directly, but they develop critical thinking, as I said, critical thinking, moral value, and etc. Which is those qualities is very needed in society. I would say that the relevance is not only measured by economic productivity, because measures such as history, literature, and etc. they do not create inside workers directly, but they develop critical thinking and moral values, as I said. And if we remove if we remove them, students may know how to complete tasks, but they do not know the background of it. Like, why do they do this? What's the historical and ethical meaning behind their actions?
Well, now that I think about it, it's definitely something that many people forget. Not every subject is designed only to create workers. Some subjects help people understand humanity, ethics, and society itself. So basically, you're saying education should create complete human beings, not simply skilled employees.
Exactly. Education should shape humans, not shape machines.
Well, that sounded so philosophical. I suddenly feel like I need to rethink my entire life after this discussion.
When students did the Exactly. Education is supposed to shape humans, not machines.
Wow, that sounded very philosophical for a moment. I suddenly feel like I need to rethink my entire life after this discussion.
And when students did these disciplines, they learn how to analyze problems, understand society, and form principles. By removing these specific deep dive tracks, we risk creating a generation that is technically capable but intellectually shallow.
That sounds quite worrying when we imagine the future, because if everything becomes purely industry oriented, society might have lose creativity, empathy, and even critical thinking. Do you think that this kind of system could affect society in the long run?
Absolutely. A society built on industrial efficiency may lose innovation, morality, and cultural understanding. For example, if students no longer study history, they may not understand the historical context behind certain action, and then they may repeat the past mistakes. And if they do not study ethics or literature, they may struggle to emphasize others. This is dangerous because society needs thoughtful citizens, not only productive workers.
It's a very strong point from you. Society doesn't only need productive workers, but also thoughtful citizens who understand culture, morality, and and history. So, with all those concerns in mind, what is your final position regarding this motion?
Of course, we strongly oppose this motion because major removal to us is not a new solution, but it's a new problem. Education should remain a place where students develop intellectual depth, moral values, and understanding of society. It is a system designed to satisfy industrial needs.
Alright, that's a very strong point from the con side. So now let's return to the pro side again because this debate is getting more and more interesting. So Ian, before we discuss the government's policy, what evidence can you see that this problem is really happening?
Okay, honestly, we can clearly see this problem today. Every day, universities project many graduates. Honestly, we can clearly see this problem today. Every day, university produce many graduates, but a lot of them still struggle to get a job related with their major. Some even work in completely different fields because their skill do not match with industry demands. Meanwhile, industry like technology and engineering still needs more skilled workers, which shows a serious mismatch between education and jobs market needs.
That's true. We often hear stories about graduates who feel lost after finishing college because job opportunities are very, very limited in their field. So, in your opinion, why does this mismatch happen?
I think that the real problem is imbalance between number of graduates and jobs market demands. Some majors produce too many graduates, while industry today need practical skills like problem solving, digital literacy, and communication. As a result, many graduates face intense competition, while some industry skills lack qualified workers.
That does make sense. Industries are evolving rapidly, especially because of technology and globalization, while some universities still struggle to adapt their programs to those changes. Eventually, this brings us back to the government's controversial policy. So, what do you think about the government's decision to eliminate majors considered irrelevant?
I personally support the government policy because it can help reduce graduates' employment and make education and more relevant to industry needs. Although some people think removing major is unfair, but I believe the government should evaluate programs with limited career opportunities so students can have better chance for future employment.
I see. So, from your perspective, this policy is not about limiting education, but about making it more connected to real-world opportunities, and if implemented properly, you believe it could help students avoid uncertainty after graduation. So, how exactly do you think this policy can benefit students in the future?
I think this policy can create a better balance between education and the workforce by guiding students towards major with stronger career opportunities. With more practical training and industry collaboration, graduates will be better prepared for real jobs and have a greater chance of building a stable career.
I see. Now that we've heard another strong arguments from the pro side about efficiency and job opportunities, but education is also closely related to passion, identity, and personal growth. So, Sundus, as someone from the opposite sides, what is your response to this policy?
So many younger generations are passionate about different subjects and dream to have a deeper knowledge of it. And like majors in college help them to get a proper education of it huge threat for the people who want to keep learning and like possibly for the future generations as well.
That's actually a very meaningful thought because not every student chooses a major only because of jobs or salary. Many people genuinely want to study something that they love and deepen their understanding about the world. True though, I mean, imagine telling someone who loves literature and saying that, sorry, your passion has been discontinued by the government. That would feel like a slap in the face. But supporters of major removal often argue that the government needs to prioritize practical needs and economic stability. So why do you think removing majors is still the wrong decision?
So like the removal for like multiple majors in college that are considered relevant for like job fields is a wrong move. Like while the government sees it as a way to like set priorities for the country and like to boost the economy, I think it's inconsiderate because like the damages it can potentially do to like many parties and like this decision is also like a sign that the government only sees their citizens solely as laborers that they can take advantages of, which is very harmful for the citizens themselves.
That is a very strong and valid criticism. You believe this policy could reduce students into merely economic tools instead of individuals with dreams, curiosity, and intellectual freedom. And clearly, many people from online also seem worried about the future of education itself. So what evidence do we have that society is concerned about this policy?
And like as far as I see, a lot of people have voiced out their disagreement to this college removal for its potential harm to the younger generations. Like they expressed their concerns about not being able to get into the majors that they want, and they're also like worrying about the future of the country if education is being limited.
That is very true. We can see many students expressing fear that access to education may become more limited if universities only prioritize profitable majors and final students. What is your closing stance regarding this motion?
So in conclusion, I heavily disagree with this college major removal for the damages it can do to the next generation and the future of the country. Because removing majors minimizes people to receive the knowledge that they want and limits them to access education properly and easily.
I see. At this point, I think all of us are questioning our future careers already, and suddenly graduating feels scarier than final week of exam. So, today's discussion was honestly very eye-opening. On one side, we heard arguments that major removal could help solve unemployment and create better alignment between universities and industries. But on the other side, we also heard concerns that education should never lose its deeper purpose, shaping thoughtful, moral, and intellectual human beings. So now, the question goes to all of you watching. Should education follow industrial needs, or should education remain a space for intellectual freedoms and human development? I'm your host, Devon, and thank you very much for joining us in today's very, very interesting discussion. Major removal, new solution, or new problem. See you in the next talk show.